joining us. And also we have the awesome Dr. Jaime Vona. How's it going, Dr. Vona?
Hi, guys. How are you? I'm good. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Alina, so I see this, I see your shirt. I see a flag in the background.
Thank you.
What's Crime Scene Collective?
So Crime Scene Collective is a foundation that I'm a co-founder with a colleague of mine. We founded this a couple years ago. We're basically like a warm blanket that we put around the families that need assistance if they're in a time of crisis, if they have a missing child or a missing family member. We basically will connect them with traditional or non-traditional methods into the media platforms and just kind of give them the attention that they might need, like to highlight their case if they need it. If they don't, then we just give them that option too. We reach out and we'll say, hey, this is who we are, what we do. And we display some cases that we've worked on in the past, and we'll explain that to them. And then, it's up to them if they want to work with us, if they want, contacts or not. We'll set up interviews, and we kind of take it from there with these families that might need help.
Oh, wow. Good stuff. That's good stuff. Doing things with a purpose, so to speak. It's always fulfilling when you do those type of things. All righty, guys. So without further ado, let's break down this interview thing that we have going on. So this is on Hub Pages. It says here, admitted mass murderer Bryan Kohberger has consented to a sit-down interview. This is from Donna Thomas. Before we get into it, into this sit-down interview, Alina, have you heard about this before? And what can you say about it?
Well, I haven't confirmed it yet, so I can't say too much about it. I actually did hear about this late last year, and I heard that the defendant's family was offered a deal. It was 6 figures, just like this article states, and it was offered to the family, and it was going to, what I knew then is that it was going to be an interview after the trial, and it was from, I'm not even going to say the network at this point, but it was not the same network that is mentioned in this article, because if you look on page 6 of 7, it says the tentative air date of A Killer Speaks, A Voice from the Shadows. That's actually an A&E program. So that's kind of where my confusion is on what I heard late last year versus what this is stating. So that's why I'm not 100% sure that this is confirmed, like if this is actual facts or not just yet.
Okay. And Dr. Vona, if this is true and this is accurate, which Alina says she's heard some rumblings about this, maybe not necessarily this specific episode, but the fact that Bryan Kohberger is going to sit down and do an interview. Does that surprise you at all that he would want to do this?
No, not at all. If you remember way back in the beginning when you and I we came live right after something, and we both agreed that he's going to want to correct the record. So I am not surprised about that. However, if this is true, I would be surprised that he, that he would do it in this sense. I think if anything, it would have been like a doctor. Maybe it still will be. I don't know. It's because it doesn't really say who it would be with, does it?
It says a name at the bottom, but as Alina mentioned, I looked it up too, and that's also an A&E web program.
I think they've been running that series for maybe even since 2013. I'm not quite sure right now, but it's been going on for quite a bit.
Although if there's money in it, I could see where that would come from, but maybe, I don't know, maybe he might feel, if this were true, I don't know if it is, but if it is, maybe he feels like this is, maybe this is his way of outdoing his dad, right? Here's some money. Does that make sense to you? That's real psychological. Maybe. But do you know what I mean? How his dad and his parents with the 2 bankruptcy and stuff like that. I've always thought that was an issue for him growing up, which it would be for any kid growing up. That's not an easy thing to go through, right? So that's not surprising if it did have an effect on him or his sisters or all of them. So I don't know. I wonder how much of that plays a role. And again, that's just a psychology thing, and that would be if this is true. I don't know. How do we find out if this is real?
Well, also, I don't know. I don't see how he can, or this family can benefit after how much money both Pennsylvania and Idaho and Washington has spent on this case and during the searches and all of that. And now they're just going to put money in their pockets. Like, where's the restitution to the families and the states and all of that? Like, I thought there was some laws against this.
Well, there are kind of SAM laws, but I don't know if if it'll fall under the family.
Yeah, I think this is the problem. Is this going to fall under the family? I'll go ahead and read some of this, and we'll go through it piece by piece. So it says here, Bryan Kohberger has consented to a no-holds-barred sit-down interview this fall. According to well-placed sources, admitted mass murderer Bryan Kohberger, 30, will give a first-hand account of his actions on November 13, 2022, in Moscow, Idaho. This goes on to say, the primetime non-cable network interview will concede with the third anniversary of the grisly murders of the 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow, Idaho. So this is supposedly going to air out on November 14th, the day after the anniversary of these murders when they'd happened. What does that tell you? That like, do you think that's just something that the network wants to do because, hey, it's the anniversary, there's going to be a lot of publicity, a lot of people are going to look into this? Or is this something like maybe Bryan Kohberger wants, there's something specific, obviously it means something to him because he committed the crime on November the 13th. Do you think that could have any role in it?
I think this is more of a network thing. And again, it all goes back to the money, right? They know That's that true. People are going to pick up on that and be like, can you believe the date and da-da-da-da.
And it's a Friday, so they're going to say it's,
yes,
and
yes.
Right. They're going to say, but it's, it's a Friday. That's when we do all of our releases. We didn't even realize we always do one of our biggest releases the second Friday of the month. They're going to throw all of that in there.
And it's not really the date. It's the date after. So yeah, they'll come up with something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It goes on to say Kohberger already admitted to unlawfully entering the student's off-campus house in 1122 King Road through an unlocked door and systemically murdering Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, and both 21, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, both 20. Let's see. The Kohberger family received payment for supplying never-before-seen pictures. According to sources, it was Kohberger's family that convinced Bryan to consent to the interview. Amanda Kohberger, 37, had to move back to her parents' home in Albrights, Pennsylvania. Both Kohberger's older sisters, Amanda and Melissa, were working in the mental health care industry. One was terminated, the other resigned shortly after their brother's arrest in December of 2022. According to sources close to the family, they hope Kohberger setting the record straight. Sounds kind of weird when you say it like that. And what is the family hoping he sets straight? I don't understand that.
Right. Exactly. And also another thing I'd like to point out is it says Kohberger family, to receive payment for supplying never before seen pictures. And it doesn't necessarily say like that they're going to, right? But it almost says in past tense that they supplied these pictures. And we know we've seen a lot of things that were supplied previously that we weren't supposed to see, kind of dateline, right? And this, to me, I'm like kind of reading between the lines, and that sticks out to me, that part. That's just me. Like, that sticks out to me.
That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting.
Because why are they bringing that up? Like, they're already telling us they're doing a whole interview, like that kind of goes with it. You're going to do an interview, so we already know you're going to be supplying probably pictures. This is your son. This is your kid, your brother. That always goes with interviews. Like, all right, show us what he was like as a kid and this and that. Why are they just like putting that one part in there?
So maybe it could be, I'm sorry. Maybe it could be, you know how sometimes people say like, are you getting paid for this interview? Maybe this is their way of saying we're not getting paid for the interview, but not lying because they're getting paid for pictures. Does that make sense?
Okay. I mean,
I feel like it's like a matter of
pictures got to be like gold plated. I mean, for 6
Well,
figures,
I think that's like normal in news, where, because people are like, you're going to pay for that interview, and people are like, we don't pay for interviews. But then if you ask,
I understand. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So sure. I wonder if that could be it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if they had to word it a certain way, that definitely could be it too. I agree.
If they had intentions, the Kohberger family had intentions, and they had already convinced or started talking to Kohberger about doing this, as you know, as late as last year, sometime late last year. Wouldn't that kind of, when I talked to Howard Bloom, he kind of mentioned that Ann Taylor and the defense team kind of figured out sometime around that time that Bryan Kohberger really doesn't have an alibi and that he may have committed the crime. And they were trying to talk him into a plea deal, according to Howard Bloom. And per my interview with Howard, if you guys haven't checked it, please go check it out.
I watched it.
He mentions that it was the mother who wanted him to fight this and continue to go on. It's just kind of weird, almost conflicting to say that they wanted to have this after the trial. I mean, were they anticipating on losing?
Are you asked? I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, because the next part of this sentence says, it says, according to sources close to the family, they hope Kohberger is setting the record straight. They can move forward and resume their once very productive lives. I'm assuming that is the sisters that they're referring to that want to move on to their productive lives. I've heard that one of the sisters is writing a book through Howard Bloom. The other sister I heard was the one that called in the FBI on a tip.
Didn't one of them change their name?
Yes, that's what I heard as well.
Wouldn't be surprised. I don't know which one did, but if they did, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the one that made the tip.
I heard it was Melissa as well. Yeah, I heard it was Melissa that changed her name, but I could be wrong. That's just allegedly what I heard. Yeah.
I wonder if she changed it to Missy or something like that.
Well, that's her nickname, so I don't think she would. They called her Missy.
Yeah, that was also on the FBI tip too. Let's see. Let's continue going on. It says here that they all feel as if they have been under siege and subject to unfair, endless wrath from the public at large. I don't think so. I don't think that's accurate. I think that the victims' family members, which is wild to say this, but I think the victims' family members have come under more fire than the Kohbergers. Even in my recent videos, I've had a lot of people come into the comment section saying, "Oh, hey, they can't control who their relative is or this or that," as if they had no part in his upbringing.
Okay. I mean,
that's not true.
Oh,
sorry.
He clearly had a part in his upbringing, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So that doesn't even make any sense. And the other thing is, though, I will say, Daniel, if I'm being honest here, I do think that I know that I was looking into them. So maybe it's just scrutiny in general, like maybe because they felt people looking at them. And I'm sure their friends and family. Remember the dad ran into the lady where Kohberger was friends with his son that died or whatever, her son, and he didn't go. Do you remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
So like with that, yeah, so I feel like maybe like it's probably embarrassing when you're in the supermarket to run into a neighbor that's like, oh, what's going on? So I'm sure they feel that embarrassment too. I think a lot of this is like them trying to like not wanting to believe it. But then the mom did that whole thing. Like she seems to be interested in true crime. So I don't know.
She is. Right. Then maybe they should have been more forefront with what their son is, doing. And maybe they should have, helped this whole case and not, hidden everything been more forefront, honest, or, forthright with everything, honestly. Like, I don't know. I really
do feel bad for the sisters.
I can't sympathize.
Yeah, I feel bad for the sisters because they had their jobs taken away and stuff like that. And they didn't, you know what I mean? Like the one was a victim of him. He stole her cell phone years ago, but so, and who knows, the other one might've been a victim too of something that we just never got turned in.
About yet. Yeah,
exactly. So this was just further victimization for them. However, I do feel like the parents in some way, I feel like there's something about understanding the family dynamic because we're all like a mobile. We're all a piece of the mobile. And without one of us, the mobile's wobbly. So everybody plays a role in their family, right? So it's like we all play a specific role. So me having a specialization in marriage and family therapy, I've always been interested in their family dynamic. So maybe they do feel the heat a little bit from people like me that are looking into this. I don't know.
Yeah. It just comes with the territory. That's how I feel. Every other family was dissected and at some point it's their turn too. And I think now's the time and I'm ready for it. And,
I think it's hard. I think it's hard for our brains to understand like the tragedy of it all. So by looking into, the family, it almost helps us not, say what happened was okay, but to explain it a little bit so that we can understand like where did things go sideways.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might even help the family. Like maybe once we start unraveling it, the pressure might come off of them a little bit when people do see it really wasn't them. it was just solely him. It was just him. It was a
Or
unique
it might have been.
situation. But we might not see that either, and it just might cause more attacks. We don't know. We really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. This goes on to say the Kohberger family will receive a 6-figure sum for providing never before seen pictures of Bryan and the Kohberger family. So this sounds like a family photo album. Never before seen pictures of Bryan and the Kohberger family.
Yeah. Tell all.
Yeah. The network have bought the rights to use the pictures during the interview. Kohberger, who turns 31 on November 21st, 2025, the interview is set to be filmed in person once Kohberger is processed and sent to a permanent prison. So he's already made plans before he's even gotten, quote unquote, home yet. He's making these plans. All of the legal issues between Kohberger and his family and the network have been ironed out. So it does sound like, that takes time. That's not something that is fairly quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
He is expected to be housed at the maximum security prison in Kuna, Idaho. He could also be transferred out to an out-of-state prison. Tentative air date for Killer Speaks is set for Friday, November 14, 2025. And so I've heard that this thing is true. I heard that this is accurate, that there is an interview, that the Kohberger family has gotten paid some amount. I actually heard it was a little bit more. But I'll leave that at that. But I haven't, obviously I don't work for the network, so I can't tell you 100% this is true. And this is from Donna Shaw, who claims to have some sources close to the Kohberger family and also to inside this deal.
How much does it say that they were going to give them here?
6 figures.
I heard more than that too.
I was going to say, could that be like 999? Like,
yeah,
999.
Maybe after taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely after taxes. It's probably.
And they're saying there's no Son of Sam law in Idaho.
Well, the thing is, and we've already heard that one of the sisters is writing a book. I don't think there's anything that anybody can do about the whole book thing. Now, maybe there's something that maybe the victim's family members can do. Now that especially Kohbergers might be coming into some money, if they had some sort of pre-knowledge of anything, kind of think of the Bryan laundry case with Gabby Petito.
Right.
In that case, Bryan committed a horrific crime against Gabby Petito, and then he fled in her van cross country to his home.
Right.
And his parents shielded him in the house, and it wasn't until he went missing for a few days before they asked for the help of police. In this scenario here, there's a phone call that's being made just 2 hours after the murders between Bryan Kohberger and his father, possibly his mother, on the phone as well. And then from what I understand is around Thanksgiving, so after the murders, there starts to be some conversation that Bryan Kohberger could come home for Christmas.
Right.
And then a bolo goes out, and immediately Michael Kohberger gets a plane ticket, and it flies out from one day to the next. From the day that he purchased it to the next day, he's flying out. Now, because of a snowstorm, he lands in Seattle. He's supposed to fly into Moscow, but because of a snowstorm that's going on and everything else, the wintry aspect of it, they couldn't land in Pullman. He had to land in Spokane, and he didn't land until after 9:35. So, and that's in the evening, 9:35 p.m. Now they have to drive back to Pullman, which probably puts him at the house or at Bryan Kohberger's apartment around midnight, given the weather, the time of night, those type of things. And so if they're leaving the very next morning because they're clocked in Loma, Colorado, I believe it was, 900 miles away during the daytime, they must have left pretty early. And so this basically what it looks like to me is as soon as they found out about the car, Michael Kohberger's going across country to bring his son back. And I was watching the documentary, and I've seen a bunch of drone footage. When they arrest Bryan Kohberger, his vehicle's in the garage. The family vehicle's parked outside of the garage. There was a bucket full of cleaning supplies found next to his car, or bucket still with cleaner next to his car. So he was still actively cleaning his car inside of their house. So I'll ask you this. What's the difference between Bryan Kohberger and Bryan Laundrie when it comes to their parents?
That's my argument since the beginning. I also have another thing. How do we know that they drove back to Pullman? Why don't we think that Bryan went and picked his father up from the airport in Spokane and they just hit the road right then?
That would be interesting.
Because that's what I think happened. Based on the timeline when the license plate was scanned in, was it Loma, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
like it. To me, it seems like they hit the road, and that's why I always said I can't wrap my mind around the fact that this man at his age flew from Pennsylvania to Seattle, had to stay overnight because of the weather. We don't know if he slept on a chair or if he actually took them up on their hotel. Chances are he stayed in the airport because then he needed to pay that. He paid $6.60. I have it right in front of me for the flight the next day to get back into Spokane. And he took the 8:30 flight, got there at 9:34. And how do we know that at this point, because Bryan's been waiting for him, anticipating it, that he didn't just meet him? And like, we still have to think about how did he get to Pullman and why would he go there if they're just hitting the road right away? That's too much time. Like, I'd be nervous to sleep. Like, are they going to come and break the door down and get me in my sleep? I need to get out of here, right? I think Bryan picked him up from the airport and they just hit the road. And that's why Bryan, if he's Papa Roger, which I think he is, wrote at 8:30, which he was on his way to pick up his father, said, is the suspect still in Moscow right now? Because he was leaving, he was passing or leaving to go to Spokane on their way out to head to get out of that area and head to Pennsylvania. That was his final see you later, and wanted to see what people thought where he was or to set them off his trail. And I really think he left that night of the 12th, not the 13th. That's how it works on my timeline, the hours, where he was, where he got to where.
And by doing that, his dad would not have gone to his apartment to see anything.
Right. So this man flew all the way from Pennsylvania, stayed the night in Seattle, probably in a chair, then had to fly again in this weather to Spokane, got in a car just to drive all the way back to Pennsylvania. Tell me that's not some urgency. That's some serious urgency for a man of his age to fly I just flew last weekend and I was sleeping, I had plenty of rest, all of that. And I was still needing 2 days to catch up on my, just the wear and tear on myself. Right. And I can't imagine what this man was going through, knowing crap, my son is probably this suspect. And he still got right in the car and then drove across the country.
So you said you're looking at something right now. Is that something you can share? Or is that something that's classified?
Sorry, I can't.
Understood.
Sorry. No, I know you were saying last time we were on that it was $5 something. And
yeah.
I knew it was $6 something. So that's why I went and dug up my paperwork and I have the actual receipt in front of me and it was $6.60.
Yeah,
and
I have
with it with points.
Yeah, I've heard of the receipt. I've noticed. I know that he paid 40,000 flyer miles to get there.
Right.
And yeah,
he must be traveling. He's to get those points. I travel.
Isn't that a lot of money?
I've got 5,000 points on Southwest. Yeah. It's not easy. He's obviously traveling.
Who's to say that it was his card? What if it's the daughter's travel card? Because I have a flyer miles card, and me and my wife do, and my wife has used it to send out her mom, my mother-in-law. So she's not too long ago, my mother-in-law actually had to go to, I think, Louisiana or something like that, and so she used some of her flyer miles, and everything populated just like Michael Kohberger's receipt did, but but it was different airlines. It's we use American. I think they were using Alaskan.
American
Airlines.
and Alaskan are pretty much the same airline, though. They're
True.
the parent. They're the same parent company.
Yeah. Now here's the other interesting thing. So I was interviewing Howard Bloom, and I asked him about how early it was that the FBI were onto Bryan Kohberger, and he told me that they were onto him as he was leaving. They couldn't find him, and that's why they used the plate reader, and they got him on his trip. They were following him on his trip, but they kind of lost him. But they were already onto him. If he had left December 12th right? Which was the first day of finals, by the way. That was day one of the first week of finals. So how would they have known if they pre-planned this and he had bought this ticket way earlier in advance? How would he have known that he needed to get out there the first day of finals? It makes no sense. But
right.
If they left, they were on to him by the time he got into PA, which was on December 16th.
Right.
And he told me that the FBI took over what Othram was doing on December 12th, December 13th. And we know that based on the documents and everything that's come out, that the IGG came back December 19th. But yet they were on to Bryan Kohberger while he was on his trip before then. Now, Howard Bloom wrote that in grand jury that there was discussion of an informant, somebody that made a tip through the FBI tip line. And that apparently Steve and the Gonzalez family were going to make contact with this person, but they were prevented to because the FBI intervened and said, hey, you can't do that. They called the tip line, the FBI tip line. And so I don't know if that's true or not. I've never asked Steve, hey, did y'all almost make contact or do any of those type of things? I have no idea if that's true. But Howard Bloom believes it to be true. And what I thought was weird is they're saying that Bryan Kohberger's sister contacted the tip line through the FBI. It was an FBI tip line. The IGG, when the FBI took over, what they did was they submitted the DNA off of the knife sheath into, I think it was Heritage, right? Heritage had to receive it, then look at it and do their thing. How in the world, and there's only two possibilities, unless Bryan Kohberger's immediate family member had submitted their DNA and it popped up, hey, you have a match with a sister, brother, father, something really, really close, or where they had his name some other way. And if it was through the FBI tip line and it was possibly Melissa Kohberger calling that in, if that call came in, while Michael Kohberger was in the air or before, that would kind of explain why the FBI was onto him. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Dr. Vona.
That the FBI was onto him? I think they were.
Well, they were onto him while they were on his trip, but they didn't take over the IGG stuff until December 13th, right? But they were onto him within maybe the next day by December 14th. I've inserted my stuff into DNA data stuff. It takes a couple of days for those things to return.
Yeah, but you would think the FBI would have
the FBI put a rush on it. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they can.
Right. But I mean, they're not getting a name. They're getting a bunch of people. They're getting a tree that they have to go through and figure out who's most likely the person. That still takes time, more than, in my opinion, a few hours. I don't see that being a possibility. And so for them to have been on to him
about that. That is quick.
For them to have been on to him. Yeah. For them to be on to him, there had to be another reason.
It could have been like a process of elimination. He could have been somebody like in their scope. Like they could have had a wall of like, okay, who's like our top.
So one of many.
Yeah,
right.
One of many.
His last conversation, like his last warning, his second like strong warning from the college about his teaching assistant job was December 9th, right? So who's not to say that he's, had that happen at the college and knowing that his third strike, or maybe that was it. Maybe that was his final conversation because the 19th was when he got his final termination letter. So the 9th, I believe, was when they had that serious conversation with him. Maybe when he came home that day, that evening is when he spoke to his parents, right? And maybe we don't know what time or even if that happened, like, let's just kind of guess. And maybe it happened later in the evening. They had to talk about it amongst themselves. And then the next day is when his mom was like, all right, go get Bryan. And that's why we know that the tickets were purchased on the 10th, right? Mm-hmm. We know that he had a serious conversation with the school on the 9th. We know that something happened. Like we know that the tickets were purchased on the 10th. We can put that together. And, so they could have even seen that like, oh, wow, he took off today, right? I mean, they could have added that to their chart, like, okay, another suspicious activity from this guy over here. Let's put another pin on this guy. He's getting more pins than these other 9 guys. we're going to focus more on him.
But if that's true, right? Let's just say that's true, that all that went down. Wouldn't that mean that they didn't plan on going out there then? That's a lie? Wouldn't that be a lie? Because Bryan Kohberger told his PA attorney, Labar, I believe is his last name. This is before he got extradited back, that trip had been planned already.
He also said he went stargazing. He hasn't been telling the truth about any of this. So.
Right. No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that has been what a lot of people have said, is that trip was pre-planned. If what you're saying is true, then that's not the case. Then it wasn't pre-planned. They just went on a whim because, he got fired and those type of things. Howard Bloom, which I don't believe is true, because his mom was talking about how Bryan Kohberger was going to come up in a couple of weeks, and she was excited to see him. So it definitely sounded like they had some sort of conversation. Now, when I looked at Michael Kohberger's receipts, and I looked at the second one was the one from Seattle to Spokane. That one said transfer, and it also said something to the effect that the old ticket number. So I could tell that they changed that flight. So the December 10th flight or 11th flight, the initial one, doesn't say that. So either he had another flight planned, maybe December 13th, to go out there, and they completely canceled it and changed it, and then put it on December 10th or for December 11th, and just kind of said, screw it, we'll lose the money, or we'll lose the points that they paid for. Because it doesn't say transfer of points, or it doesn't say transfer, it doesn't say a new ticket, doesn't say any of those things like the other one does. The other one says original ticket number. This one doesn't. That shows urgency. And now if they had another trip planned, if he was planning on going, let's just say it was December 13th, and that was the plan because school was going to end on the 16th. He wanted to get to the 13th. It was going to be the red-eye flight because it's the least expensive one. So he was probably going to be there until the 14th, give him a day to rest. And then they drive out on the 16th, which was the last day of those things. You don't give up your ticket like that just to go 5 days later. I mean, unless it's something really, really serious to get down there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I might be able to explain this. Okay. So we know that the original ticket was going to Pullman, right? And there was really bad weather.
Correct.
So, and we know that Pullman is a small airport, and that's why he was laid over in Seattle, and they couldn't get him over into Pullman because of the size of the airport and how bad the weather was. So now he's staying overnight, right, in Seattle. And now it's the next day. And we know, like, we can surmise that there's some sort of urgency, right? So I kind of feel that, he was waiting, and he was like, all right, so when can I get, into Pullman? And they're like, look, the weather's really bad. We can't land any flights into Pullman. However, Spokane is a bigger airport. We can get you to Spokane, but the earliest flight there is 8:30 tomorrow, or, 8:30 tonight. But there is a little price difference, and we can get you there for $6 of your or whatever points. And if you want to keep your price the same in your original ticket, Pullman, we're flying our planes to Pullman in 2 days when this storm passes.
They actually don't charge them for the one in Spokane. It says $5.60, and then it's zeroed out at the end.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe they didn't even charge him.
And the reason why they didn't charge him is because the flight was canceled and had to be changed. Now, I've had a flight where I missed it and it had to be changed, and I saw the same thing. I didn't get charged or anything like that. So that tells me that the first flight on December 11th that charged him 40,000 points that he paid for on December 10th, that wasn't a change of flight. That wasn't, all right, I'm going out there already on December 16th, December 13th, whatever it may have been, to go and drive him back. It's a change of plans. It's a completely new ticket. And I wish I could show you guys, but this is something I can't show either yet. And so you're just going to have to take our word for it when we talk about the details of it. But, to me, this screams something else. Something really, really, really big happened, and they needed to get out there. And even if he was having problems at his at his work and he may have lost his job or whatever the case may be. Like, he must have been acting really strange on the phone for his family to say, all right, let's just go pick him up.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe it wasn't normal for him to call at that time either. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that was alarming as well. I would think that if anything, I don't know that they would have known about the crime, but I do think that they would have known about him getting in trouble at work or knowing that he's like his ass is on the line type thing. So, but I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. Is that enough to like rush out there? I don't know.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Is it enough to rush out there? If you had other flight plans, you just not even canceled it. You just lost them, right? Because you didn't switch your plane. You didn't. So if he paid like money for it, he lost that money, unless he had some kind of insurance on it. You know, same thing with tickets. I mean, points. He lost it because he paid 40,000 points to go out to the very next day. I think that, you know, I heard that there was something that said, you know, prepare for Philadelphia or something of that nature on December 13th. I wonder if that was the initial fly out day that he was going to fly out, was December 13th. And because that would have put him there, like, you know, again, like at basically midnight, if he would have flown into Pullman. And so the next day, I mean, there's only 2 days left in the week. I wouldn't be surprised if he took that day. Like, the initial plan was to take that day and rest. I think anybody would have thought that would have been feasible, and then take off on the 16th or the 17th when class is over. You know, so to me, I think they changed it.
I'm sorry. I find it even more interesting too, right? How crazy is it that he didn't the dad have another flight for January? So my thing is, instead of the dad having 2 one-way flights, why wouldn't they just fly him home and then fly him back? Oh, he was afraid of flights, right? Well, I forgot that he was afraid of flights, but I'm thinking, like, why not just fly him back and forth instead of having the dad go out and then drive the car? So that would have been suspicious, but it wasn't he like afraid of flights?
Yeah, but he's also almost 30. Like, come on now, man.
Yeah,
I know that's the problem, right?
Yeah,
you know, I would have been like, dude, you're old enough to get on a plane by yourself. You know what I mean? And
I'll meet you at the gate.
Even at that, let's just say that he did do that. Let's just say he did do that. That they were planning on flying. He was going to drive all the way back and fly back out. He purchased that ticket the same day as the December 10th ticket. So that kind of shows you that they have a history, or their first, you know, process of what they're going to do in those type of situations when they buy plane tickets is not usually they wait till the day before they're going to fly out. They buy them ahead of time, probably to save some money. I mean, when you're not the most wealthiest people in the world, you become conscientious.
Right. Yeah.
So I struggle with that. I think that I don't know how much traveling his parents do, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was purchased by one of the Kohberger sisters, if not somebody else, you know, as a favor to him. But yeah, 40,000 points on a one-way flight. That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, how much money do you have to spend to get to 40,000 points? Isn't that a lot of money?
That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and again, another reason why I don't think it came from the Kohberger credit card. I think it's probably, I mean, not the family credit card. I think it's probably a sister, not the parents. But back
and
to
that
the,
would mean that it had to be something alarming, because why would the sister be willing to give up her points? Just
exactly,
like that your wife did it for her mom,
right?
Yeah, your wife did it for her mom, but that was like to come visit or like do something that was like, you know what I mean? Like, this would be like, can I have some of your points so I could go bail your brother out? Like, that would just be confusing in itself.
Yeah.
Of like why she would do that. So
unless
like, would that mean that the mom is alarmed?
But unless they're used to this behavior with Bryan, like, all right, he's in hot water again. All right, we're going to need something. What do you need? Well, do you have any points? Yes, I do. You know, like, if they're used to this constant stuff, and, you know, when it comes to him, like, I have a family member and we just say that person's name and they're like, all right, what do you need? You know, so it's just like, it could just be a situation like that as well.
It very well could be. But it, you know, to me, you have to add more to it, right? There's more context to it. The FBI were onto him while they were driving back a lot earlier than I think a lot of people would have expected it. I just think that because there's been rumors out there that Melissa contacted the FBI. I think that those are true. I honestly do. And I think that him possibly canceling whatever trip that they had planned, because it sounded like they had a trip planned. If you go and look at Bryan Kohberger's posts on her social media and stuff, she was talking about how she was excited to have him in a few weeks, for Christmas, and that he was going to be there nearly a month, and a bunch of other things. So it does sound like they had some sort of plan or inkling that they were going to bring him home that weekend or around that time. I just think that the sense of urgency, the change, the purchase of a ticket from one day to the next, cross country, you find this vehicle inside of the garage. He's allowed to clean it multiple times. There's a cleaning bucket next to it. It just all screams that they were worried about something. And a lot of people, if they were in their shoes, and their child, their offspring called and said, hey, I may have done something horrible and they need your help, I guarantee you more people would help out their kids than they say that they won't. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I know a lot of people would say, oh, I wouldn't help him or this or that. And
it's not true.
Yeah. Most
you don't know until you're facing that. There's a lot of cases out there that, we know, like, I can't think of the names, but there was like that 14-year-old boy that, like, I think the girl's name was Bailey or something, the cheerleader that he murdered, and the mom like cleaned his jeans and stuff like that. Like, they not only do they help, but they'll actually like clean up and hide the evidence and do more than we can ever surmise. But then there's also parents that will call and say, I got to do or Wade Wilson, right? Wasn't it his biological father that called on him?
I don't even know.
I'm not sure. That's the guy that.
And then he testified, the tattoo guy, like
the tattoo face.
Smile, yeah. And it was his dad that called and said he called me and told me he killed these women or ran them over, however it was, and that was the big, that's kind of how that case, garnered all the attention, was that the parent turned him in.
Yeah. I mean, some people do. There was one situation I had seen where this mom found like a decapitated head in her son's closet, and she called the police on him. And yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant this case. I was like, wait, what did I miss? But
no.
I was like, wait, what's
That's
happening?
How rumors start. That's how rumors start.
Seriously.
Let me say hello to a couple of these super chats. We have Rena Rue coming in as a member for 21 months. We have Sarah coming in. Daniel, there are no Son of Sam laws in the state of Idaho for a show. Thank you. That's unfortunate, and I think that based on this reporting, that it definitely sounds like there's going to be some sort of profit, at least in the short term, for the Kohberger family for doing something like giving up the pictures and maybe even Bryan Kohberger having some sort of interview.
After I thought about it. Oh, I'm sorry. I have like a little bit of a delay, you guys. I'm really not interrupting. Just so everybody knows too, everybody keeps saying I look gray or whatever, but it's because I'm not home, you guys. So I'm improvising right now. But
you look great.
I was thinking about, oh, thanks. Whatever. People are saying I look gray. I have a receding hairline. I'm like, oh, you guys are so
my
nice
God,
today.
they're terrible.
It's okay. I have
bad to say. Don't even worry about that.
My identity's good. I got my doctorate degree. I'm good. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Don't worry about it. Right. But anyway, but I was thinking about it, right? His sister, after I reflected on it, I'm like, at first I was annoyed that like his family's going to profit. But then I thought about it and I'm like, who knows him better than his sister, right? So like maybe her book, like I would probably read it just being interested in the family dynamics. So like she probably would know it better than maybe a third-handed person that would tell, something that they heard.
And she's going to be a great person to kind of give us that outside looking in. Isn't that one of his handles?
Supposedly.
Inside looking.
Oh, that's
inside looking. Yeah.
Because I feel like there was a lot of contention between the girls and him. And I feel like the mom gave him like a special type of attention that she didn't necessarily give to the girls. And they resented him for that, and with the true crime as well.
Somebody in the comments made a good point. They said that this did seem urgent, but they said maybe this was something that him and his, like that how he got his mom's attention. I do think that and this is my opinion, that true crime gave them an opportunity to bond over something. So if you're having a hard time, like coming up with something to bond with your kid on, if you're both interested in a subject, I mean, what better? So how much did was this like something where it made them bond and it brought them together? It gave them something to talk about.
I've been saying that since the beginning. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
And like Daniel and I have always said too, like he always wants to be better than everybody. So this is almost like, look, Mom, I could even do it better than Bundy.
Yes. And I think like, if he was a troubled student or troubled child even, and, like as a family dynamic, I have 3 children, and one of my children is autistic as well. So like I knew the attention that my other 2 children would kind of get upset about when I was giving it to the one, because it needed more, right? And so if true crime was something that they could connect on, they, the girls could have been like, oh, so they're always going to talk about that. And I feel like Bryan could sit at the table with Marianne, and this is his calm time, where every other time is just kind of, always causing something or maybe a nuisance. But she could sit him at the table and be like, oh, look at this article or read about this. And they could, have a calmness, and he could be at the table. He wasn't causing a ruckus anywhere else. And now the sisters could kind of be at ease and maybe watch a show without interruption. And Marianne and Bryan are building this more and more rapport together over something that she didn't even realize, the monster that she was creating, by teaching him all this stuff that was her passion. And she just thought she was sharing it, but it backfired, man. Did it backfire?
Yeah. Yeah. Payne comes in 199 saying literally exactly what Steve didn't want. No DP. Yeah, this is exactly what Steve didn't want. He didn't, he kind of saw this coming too, and he was making some of these comments about when the flights were purchased and things of that nature. But yeah, he also mentioned about not allowing people to, take advantage of a crime like this. And I understand that, a lot of people will look at Bryan Kohberger's sisters and say, well, they're separate. And I agree. And for the one that did tip off the FBI, that was the right move. That was the good thing to do. You know what I mean? And so I try not to go too hard on that, but it just sounds like they're wanting more. I mean, according to this article, it says here that the Kohberger family is who convinced Bryan Kohberger to consent to the interview. I mean, what is it? How do y'all? What does that mean to you guys? Especially if they knew that he was guilty and they wanted him to talk about what he did. Like, what does that say about the family?
I mean, it could have been a whole thing like, Bryan, we're not going to get the money if you don't say something. We honestly don't know. For me, it's difficult to kind of even guess on something like that, because we don't even know what he's going to say. And it could be like his portion could be 5 minutes and their portion could be an hour long. We just don't. For me, it's difficult, because I'll have a better opinion once it happens and what he comes up with. And then I'll be like, wow, they definitely convinced him based on XYZ that he said. But right now, I don't even know if it's going to happen. I feel like after sentencing, we'll get a better picture on what kind of stipulations, if they can still impose on him. I'm not sure, but
if one of the things that bothered me about this plea deal was the fact that Bryan Kohberger they weren't going to ask him anything. He didn't have to say where the murder weapon was or any of those things. Do you guys think that this could be why that wasn't part of that the defense knew that Bryan Kohberger's family and Bryan Kohberger could, do an interview after the fact, and that if he goes out there and says what he did now, maybe that might have some sort of less viewage type of thing? I don't think it would, but
I just think that the prosecution didn't demand it, and they should have. I feel like Ann just was, doing what Ann does, and she just was never. I don't think that they pushed for it. I really don't, because we didn't hear anything about it at all. That should have just been part of it. I don't get it. I would think that it's a part of it, because even in John Benet Ramsey, right? How many people came out? A few people said that they did it and they had to arrest them, and then they had to do, they needed evidence. So my thing was, even if just for the sake of giving people more evidence so that people could be like, yeah, it was him. Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just too, there's not even, I can't find a single person out there at this point on all of the podcasts and YouTubes and every chat that says, oh yeah, this we expected it to go this way. Like there's nobody that has not been shocked by the fact that nothing was asked of him during this plea deal. Like nothing, not one iota of like, what were you thinking? Like, can you give us something? Nothing has been asked of him. And not only that, but then they're, like I said the other day, they're backtracking on it. That he didn't even mean to kill all of them, that he was just there for something else. And he happened to stumble upon 3 others. And that's why they like, whoa, like, what are you doing? So now we're going to downplay.
And it might not have even been their house. Yeah, it might not have even been their house that he was pinging off of. It could have been anybody. I was like, what are you doing?
Like, there's no sexual intention or something, and there's no evidence in his apartment. Yes, there is. And yes, there was. And yes, he did. Like, what are we doing? Why is everything after what we've all been seeing and hearing for 2 years and 8 months now changed? This is crazy to me.
Even if there wasn't, they could have left that part out. Like, they didn't need to say it at all. So my thing is, they didn't have anybody, look, there's pickerism. Pickerism is when you're sexually aroused by piercing the skin of somebody else's object. There's fantasy. Like, there's a bunch of things. And I'm not saying that they're there,
this was part of his fantasy.
Right. But we don't even know because he wasn't ever properly, the prosecution never had a chance to properly get somebody in there to see if there was a diagnosis.
Right.
So I just think it was
it's just the whole thing is just, even today when I was watching the Amazon the series, which was amazing. And there was like the part where they first arrested him and he's walking into the court and, he wobbles with the chains around his legs and, he's with Anne for like the second time he's with her, and they said the judge, it was the female judge at that point still. I don't remember her name. She had like the dark hair. It was like maybe the first time he spoke to her and they said,
it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, but either way, so the way it was, so Bryan is looking at her, the judge, and Anne's right next to him. Anne is smiling the whole time when he's saying, yes, like, this is me. This, I understand what I'm here for. So you can see the side of Anne's face and you can see that she's smiling while he's agreeing that he knows what he's here for. Why are you smiling, Anne? Because it's that same smile that she had on when she was walking out of the courtroom during the hearing after he pled guilty to all 4 of these murders. Why are you smiling, Anne? Like, I'd love to know the answer. What's so funny? Where's the joke?
Part of that could just be, I think part of that could just be when you get, what's the word I'm looking for? Like dishabitual.
Nervous smile?
No, like when you get used to it, when you're so used to something that it should affect you or you should, but it's like cops, I'm sure when they show up on a crime scene, they can't, they have to have someone.
I guarantee
you're right about that.
Smiling at a crime scene because they're used to seeing dead bodies. I've
right.
talked to cops and they're crying. There's cops that can't even hold their expressions and their emotions back, not smiling because they're sitting next to the murderer.
I'm in Philly, so I think the cops here are just so used to
I'm from New York. Trust me, I get it all. Like I'm living here in Dallas for other reasons. Like I'm true New Yorker here, so no, I get it. But like that's what I mean. Like and her being a lawyer and a DP lawyer, you think she has that training to know like watch her face. You're being watched.
Yeah.
Just was, to me, it was unprofessional, and it just kind of, it's just my own observation, that's all. And I just was frustrated with her, just how she conducted herself, honestly, a lot of this time, pretty much most of the time, even just hearing some of the stuff today, like on that series that we kind of may have forgotten about since, this was filmed over 2 years ago. I mean, just right from the jump when she's, in court, even with Judge John, right then she's already saying, we don't have time for this and we won't have time. There's just too much. It was already excuses back then. I mean, it was literally so many excuses then saying she'll never have time to get through everything. Well, then why'd you take then maybe figure something else out because you were already saying it was impossible for you to do everything. And now look where we are.
Yeah. That clip in the Amazon when they're walking in, all of them are smiling.
That's a separate clip. So then I noticed that after. So that happens afterwards. And then I was going to bring that up too. Then later on, they're all walking in laughing.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't understand what the joke was.
Joke.
Yeah, and then Bryan Kohberger comes in real hard faced. Dr. Vona, if Bryan Kohberger does this interview, do you think he'll be stone faced? Do you think there'll be any emotion? What do you expect?
I'm still like surprised that he would even be able to do this interview, and I would also assume that it probably wouldn't be recorded. I don't know. Are they allowed to do like recordings? Like I would assume, or when I heard like you talking about this, I was assuming that like somebody would go interview him and they would like write it, but I don't know. Lori Vallow, they taped her, so maybe you can. That would be interesting because I I would always think that he wouldn't be on camera, that he would correct the record, but by speaking with somebody, and then they could maybe looking at their notes first, or like their, whatever they're going to put out before they put it out, so that he can make sure it's what he wants to come across. But if he does do an interview where we see him, yeah, I think unless he mirrors the other person, or just knows that I'm supposed to act this way in a situation, I think you will still see through that, or at least most of us will. Not everyone will.
I just want to say something. Mike Baker, he is the national correspondent for the New York Times, and he said that he spoke to the lawyer of the Kohberger family, and he says this is not true. But I mean, that's just posted on Mike Baker's Facebook page. So I just wanted to let you guys
because I think that this would be a lot of, I don't know, this would be a little bit much if the family got paid. And I also think that I personally don't think that he would just talk to anyone. So, and I don't even think that his mom being like, come on, if we don't talk to this person, we're not going to get the money. I don't even know that he cares that much as far as like making sure everybody's taken care of. So in my opinion, this didn't sound right, only because I would think that he already has in his head that by talking to Dr. Ramsland, he now could be maybe studied in her classes. So with this, it might be a one-time hit, but then his parents get it, not him. The other one, his ego gets met. Dr. Ramsland can interview him. He doesn't have to be like, videoed. She can use her words, and then she could use his case in her classes, because BTK was close with her, but she wasn't involved in that case. She came in afterwards. With this, he was in her class. So he probably is thinking, of course, he would want to study me. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and they actually go over that in that Amazon series, how the cases that they studied in her class, and Elliot Rodger was one of them, and how it's like he wants to be he wants to be followed after the Elliot Rodger case, and be like, now I want her to study me and show all the wrongs that Elliot did versus the rights that I did, right? So I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like that should be it didn't track 100% for me, because the network that I knew that this was coming from in November of last year is not the same as this. So that's why I was like, well, not everything is the same. So we got to wait until all things line up, kind of. And plus we got to wait.
But you did hear that there was something similar to this.
Yes.
Okay. So what not going into details, what was it, an interview with Kohberger? Was it
It wasn't an interview with him. It was with his family.
A family interview.
The part that's different with this article is that he's part of it.
Interesting. Okay.
Because maybe even when this was. Yeah. Go ahead.
And that would make sense based on what they were saying, as far as the sisters want to get back to like a normal life. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I said I don't understand how Kohberger coming clean makes them have a normal life. Now, them coming out and being part of an interview, right, and talking about their side of things, right, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like, if the sister's writing a book, and on the timeline on how a book gets, the time it takes, published, and all that. If we know she's actively in the process of it, and November is 4 or 5 months away, that kind of coincides with when her release might be too. So. It just might.
That sounds insensitive, though.
And that is insensitive 100%. We don't.
If they were to release it, if she were to release it around the time of the murders of the book, and maybe even an interview or whatever the case may be, then that's going to be that's pretty bad.
She is a Kohberger.
Then again, here, guys, we aim for accuracy. So, as I said in the beginning, we don't know if this was true.
100%. I don't know. I don't want
to. So we don't know that this is true, but I'm sure at some point they are going to get approached to do interviews. I think that's just, if they haven't already, you know what I mean? So I think even if this is a false claim, at some point, I don't know what the number would be, or if there would be a number, but they are going to, I'm assuming, get approached to do interviews if they haven't already, if people haven't already.
Right.
Yeah.
And also 6 figures could also be, $100,000. It doesn't have to be upwards of $1 million, right? It could be 100,000, or,
Well,
on the low end too. Excuse me. So,
Dr. Vona, I wanted to ask you this, kind of changing gears a little bit. I recently went back and I was watching The Confession of BTK. And it was weird because I was watching that and then this comes out and I was like, I wonder, if Bryan Kohberger were to talk about his crimes, if it would be something similar. They were asking, Dennis Rader some pretty intimate questions. It didn't look like he got embarrassed. He didn't get red. He didn't seem nervous. He talked about it being a sexual fantasy. I mean, imagine.
He was so matter of fact, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, imagine, and this for everybody out there, if somebody walked in on you while you're spanking it and then had to explain that in a group of people why you were doing it and why you were feeling that way, that's freaking embarrassing. And, this guy over here had like no feelings. Is that something that you would expect? Like if Kohberger were to do some sort of interview, do you think there would be no embarrassment?
No, there wouldn't be embarrassment. I just don't know that he would have been as open as Dennis Rader was. Dennis Rader, like that was like on a whole nother level. I felt like it was like his time to shine maybe in his head. So could Kohberger do that? Sure. But do I think he's going to do that? Probably not, because I think he wants to hold on to. And if he did, I don't know that I would believe it at this point, right? Because what if he changes the story? So even if he did say it, I don't see that happening. I wish he would tell us something, but unfortunately, I see him holding that back as a power thing. So he still has control. Just like with this interview, he wouldn't have had control over this, which is what made it fishy to me. Like, I don't know that he would just agree to this because somebody else said it. So I think whatever it's going to be on his terms.
Yeah, no, probably so. I had on Howard Bloom last night. And I'm not sure where warning label Nina is. She was going to jump on. I haven't seen her yet.
Oh, I think it said in the comments a little bit ago, she needs the link.
Oh, I thought I sent it to her. Let me see if I can send it to her again real quick. And I'll send it here. This is
everyone's going to try signing in.
Right.
It's a party.
Oh, if anybody else jumps in here, I'm going to block you. There it is, Nina. So, one of the things
I just want to say real quick, Elliot Rogers doesn't, so his manifesto is not, his pages are not numbered. So a lot of people think that
and it's not a book, right?
It's not a book. And so how it was open to page 118, his manifesto is not, his pages are not numbered. So we kind of have to take that, theory out, I think.
Is there a book where it contains it that would be numbered?
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because you guys, I was on Kelly Watts the Obsession, and we were talking about what book it could be, and they believe that it could be the manifesto, and I said no, I thought it might be Anne Rule, but then I started to do my digging, you guys, and I have a new one. So now, and one of my subscribers brought it to my attention and said, could it be this? And I looked it up, and I really think it is. I think it's The Only Living Witness. And I think it's page 118. And the specific part, in my opinion, that I think it is that they're asking him questions. So this is about Bundy. And they ask, would there be a stereotype? And he said, no. Or no, he asked about the victims. And they say, you indicate that they would be symbols of images, but not really sure. Images of what? And then Bundy says, of women. He exclaimed, I mean, the idealized woman. What else can I say? And then they say a stereotype, and Bundy says, no, they wouldn't be stereotypes necessarily, but they would be reasonable, feminine to women as a class not of women per se, but a class that has almost been created through the mythology of women and how they are used as objects. I think this is objectifying women. And I think that there's a lot more on the page, but I just thought that part was pretty interesting and telling.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely look at that. Thank you.
Another thing he does is he speaks in the third person. So I think that if I had to put my psych hat on, why is he doing that? Even with OJ, right? If I did it, I think it's easier to step out of yourself and tell it as if if somebody did do it, this is what they would do, is probably easier than saying I did this or did that.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Right. I feel like that's 100% him.
How's it going, Nina? Can you hear us?
I have a huge echo. Am I echoing?
No.
I don't hear an echo.
It's good.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Before we get into what you have, I have a couple of super chats I want to read real quick. Natalie James comes in with 1999. No son of Sam laws in Idaho. Didn't Hitler state that they had to make a restitution of, I think that's $5,000 per victim? If that is correct, what a drastic misstep by the court. The family gets 6 figures, just getting worse. Well, again, I don't know how true this is. It seems like some of it's probably not accurate. My biggest part about it that's probably not accurate is probably the biggest part that Kohberger is agreeing to a interview. I think that we've heard rumors. One of the sisters is writing a book, and that maybe there's some interviews that are going along with that. But I don't know about this actually with Bryan Kohberger. Florence White comes 1999. Thanks, Daniel, for great shows. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys. Alley Books member for a while. Let's see. PKC comes in with compensation for victims' crime. I need to look that one up. What are your chances Kohberger's fam gets the money to the victims' families? I think there's going to have to be a lawsuit, and there's a possibility of that. But I mean, you got to prove quite a bit of things in order to do that. And
he's 30. He's 30, right? Oh, there goes lots of the obsession. Hi, Kelly.
How's it going? Hey, guys, thanks for your insight on the case. Just watching the documentary on Dennis Rader last night. That's crazy. we were all, and that was a one-way ticket because he drove back to Pennsylvania with his son, as far as Michael Kohberger's ticket. So one of the things.
Chloe has a message down there that says they have texted you something about airlines.
Okay. I'll check that out.
Good looking out, Nina. Good looking out.
Thank
Someone
you.
else said that it's about $800 for that. Like, that's how much it would be in points. Because remember, I said how much money would that be about? And someone said approximately $800, which isn't as much as I thought it would be for 40,000 points.
All right. So
yeah, you saw that there was like $8,000. Yeah, I saw that too.
No.
Right.
It said 800, I think.
Oh no, somebody says
yeah.
somebody in the chat said it was between $5,000 and $8,000 in tickets.
See, that sounds.
Yeah, that's what you'd have to spend.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, I might be able to share some of the things that we're talking about, the receipts. I just got to wait just a little bit longer, guys, but it looks like I'll be able to share the receipts for Michael Kohberger's flights, and I'll be able to show you guys that he purchased that ticket on December 10th, and he flew out December 11th. Was supposed to land on December 11th, but because of some difficulties, it happened on December 12th, and he flew into Spokane. I'll be able to break that. I'm going to show that and everything else. Once I get to do that, just give me a little bit longer. But that's what those messages were about, that they've been confirmed, which I already knew, and that I might be able to share them. So it should be exciting, guys. It should be exciting. Mm-hmm. Now, kind of going back to to my interview yesterday with Howard Bloom, I asked him about Papa Roger. I said, hey, what have you heard about Papa Roger and Bryan Kohberger? And he told me that according to his sources and to the people that were investigating the case, that they strongly believe that Papa Roger was Bryan Kohberger. And I was like, wow, even those that are investigating the case are thinking this. My only problem with it is, if it was true, that I just feel that would have been something explained maybe in the state's closing case, that hey, this guy also had
with
prior
everything
knowledge.
Else.
Right. When
Daniel,
Bill
there's
Thompson
so many other
explaining.
things but there's so many other things that they didn't say, right, that they probably should have. But my thing is this, Daniel, I don't know if you knew this, but I did the Google Trends. I'm telling you, it originated in Washington, where he's from, with, oh my gosh, Pullman, Washington. And it started at like, I think it was like May or something. I have it. I'll share it with you later on. I'll send it to you or whatever.
May, though.
But no, that's what I said.
Oh, the trends.
Yeah,
for the house.
don't listen to the May, you guys. I take that part back. But we were able to, when we were doing our Google Trends, I'll send it to you and then Daniel can send it. But we were looking at the Papa Roger stuff and it was connecting back to Washington, Pullman, Washington.
Oh, wow. See?
I'm about 95% there.
96
I
now.
just,
I'm like 99.
To me, it's just like that's prior knowledge of the crime, the knife sheath and things of that nature. That is in my opinion, a modern way of inserting yourself into the case. This is something that I have talked about since the beginning, since the first time I heard of Papa Roger's name. I said, you know what? To the normal person, I would say yes. I would think that a kid, young guy, or, young to me, I guess, a kid in college, obviously would have a lot, be on the internet, be on the tablets and stuff like that on all the forums. But to me, I thought that when the probable cause affidavit mentioned that he only went back to Idaho once or to Moscow once, and that was at 9 a.m. and he never went back again. They don't believe he ever went back. That to me is more tempting for a person is to visit the crime scene. And yet he was disciplined not to do that. And I just think that maybe perhaps he was more disciplined to go into, some of the other red flags, but obviously he's made a lot of mistakes. What do you guys think about that? The fact that he was able to reframe that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, though. I think that he was inserting himself, in my opinion. I think he was Papa Roger. And one of the other things is, I think that after we found out that he was studying Elliot Rodger, that would say to me, he spells it the same way, right? So think about it, Daniel. He thinks he's like better than everybody in everything. One of the things that I uncovered that I'm like, oh my gosh, in his rap song, if you look at the lyrics, me and Dr. Schultz, my colleague, broke down the lyrics like a while ago. When you look at the lyrics, there's a line that talks about him being sick of people sunning him. I'm from Pennsylvania. Dr. Schultz and I were like, she really put it together at first. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Sunning is like, what's up, son? Like, hey, son. And he was sick of people sunning him, putting him down. Papa Roger is like, now you're my son. Like,
you're now my
so it's
bitch.
like, again, and I'm better than you. I'm bigger than you. And if he did feel at all connected to Elliot Rodger, which I don't think he thinks he's connected, so he might be, right? He might be incel-like, but he might not want to attach himself to that. To him, he wants to be Ted Bundy, but he's not Ted Bundy, right? Just like I don't think he's Elliot Rodger, he's Bryan Kohberger. But I think he was trying to identify because he has no identity.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think like even how he appeared on my former group as Papa Roger, the timeline of it, with the Dateline episode and how it outlined like his activities leading up to the 29th, everything that he was doing, it just shows to me, especially like he was doing, I can't think of it all right now, but like, I know that one of the last things he did was he watched something with Ted Bundy. So it was like he was watching what Ted Bundy was doing. And the final thing he did was watch something on Ted Bundy. And what did Ted Bundy do? He inserted himself as, he wanted to put himself into the, like all the news that was coming out about himself. He was trying to didn't he like pretend to be a police officer at one point? He was like, mixing himself into like the community and everything to get ahead of the news on himself. And then right after that, Papa Roger was born. And what did Papa Roger do? He inserted himself to find out what people knew, what they were talking about, and then he was posing his own questions to the communities.
That looked the exact same as his Reddit survey.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
His questions are like the
not
the exact same, but they're so close to the Reddit.
I went question by question as soon as it came out. Like I was like, this is the same person that was on my other group. Like it's the same. Because I used to take those questions and remove, like I would be like, what the hell, what this and that. And there's so much that people haven't even seen that I used to get in the reports that I would remove because they were so foul that they would just not even make it to the group. They would go right into reports because the words were so foul. And I would have to make a decision if that's going to make it onto the page or not. And those nobody's ever even seen those. Only I have, right? So there's so much of him that, that people don't even realize how foul and how agitated he got, especially towards the end there towards like December 20th and all that. Like he was losing it. He was losing patience. He was angry. He was frustrated. And guess where he was? He was home with his family, the same family that was calling him into the FBI. Something was wrong there.
There's something really wrong with that family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the Amazon Prime goes into, and by the way, guys, there's two of us that were in that Prime docuseries. One of us knew about it before.
I was waiting for you to say something. I was going to say something. Yeah.
One of us had knowledge that they were going to be in there. One of us didn't. I had no idea I was going to make an appearance. I even told my buddy Jaime, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "I haven't been on the show."
I was going to say, did you tell them? Like, what did they say?
I told them, "Hey guys, looks like we're famous again."
That's awesome. That's crazy. That's great.
And I said to him, and I was like, "At least it wasn't as bad as the last time. It really didn't, shine the best light on us, but."
Hey, any press is good press. Trust me. I've been going through hell.
I get it. But I just want to say something, to Hunter and Adam and Jack. If I ever made your life harder than it had to be, I apologize, guys. Everybody looks at the inner circle people, and once Bryan Kohberger's name come out, that's where I focus my attention to. I even had said it, when we were talking about some of these people that were looked at very early on. I said, if there was one of these guys that committed this crime, whether it was Hoodie Guy, Jack, Adam, Hunter, Johnson, they would have been arrested. Like, they were killed with a knife. That's such a personal weapon. And if it was somebody from the inner circle, there would have been a lot of evidence behind it. There would have been like text messages, phone calls. There would have been a lot of stuff that would have been indicative that this person was losing it and that they were going to commit a crime like this. And I said, after I think it was like about week 3 or 4, I was like, the fact that none of these guys have gotten arrested, they've turned in their phones, they've done this is somebody outside of the circle. But, I did point out that, the zip tie guy was Hunter Johnson. I found out that's who he was. I found out who Adam was. And, just listening to them and their story, Adam wasn't a part of it, but Hunter was. And I just want to say, if I made your life any harder than it was already, I sincerely apologize. I know it doesn't mean much, but
it does. I think that's
I do
huge.
too.
Yeah, so many people would
really
rationalize and make. Yeah, I think that's amazing that you just.
At least you're owning up to it, and and I think that's huge. And I hope they see this and hear this, and and I want to apologize to any part I took in it. And if I ever get contact with any of them, I'll make sure that I get your message across to them as well. And they all deserve an apology. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves in. Like, everybody was trying to help. You find something out and you're like, oh, I want to help with this information. You find out it's wrong. You're like, crap, I'm sorry. We didn't know. We didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's one of the things that they say, like, hey, if you don't know, don't say anything, or those type of things. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at, like, for instance, News Nation, they had on a lady who was in the same jail, sort of, like housed in the same place. And she came out and was talking about how Bryan was supposedly saying to the jailers, I'm going to gut you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. News Nation didn't know. They just had somebody that was there. Now, obviously, I thought it was a bullcrap story because I've never heard of a co-ed jail where they house females and males together, or where they're in visual, or where they can see each other.
Yeah.
It's not like that. And so, but they put that out there. I had Kim on the channel. I had Dave on the channel. These guys were people that I verified as people that were from the area. And, I didn't align with what they were saying. In fact, I tried to dumb it down. Maybe not dumb it down, but I tried to minimize a lot of what she was saying. Like, for instance, when Kim would come out saying that it was a drug house or a party house. And I was like, hey, guys, you got to realize who Kim is. She just paid cash for several of her kids to go through college. She paid it all. I'm not sure what kind of drug houses she's accustomed to. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
just because there's a party house and maybe somebody may have done something at some time in there, whether it was just marijuana or party favor type
and it's
things.
a college house, like.
Exactly. I was like, that to somebody who's like Kim might be perceived as a pretty big party house or a drug house, whatnot. And with Dave, I think Dave was just kind of confused about the day that he remembered. because his whole story was that he had known so early in the morning. But the problem was he had called into work and he said he had to be there by 9. And I was like, well, if you're calling into work and you're telling your boss that your friends lost their lives, or people that you know that are close to the, because he was part of a fraternity and some of his fraternity brothers were close to some of the victims. Like if I'm your manager and you call in saying, hey, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to be with my brothers after these 4 homicides, I'm going to look it up and be like, what the hell are you talking about? Right. You know what I'm saying? And then I found out where he worked. It took me a while, but I found out where he worked, and I contacted them, and sure enough, on Sundays, they're not open that early. And so I think he was confused with Monday.
Oh, okay. That makes, and I'm sure that day was just like a day they never imagined on even having to keep up with, like what time this or that or that. I mean, that whole day just must be all over the place, honestly.
Yeah. And to be 100% transparent, I'd only been covering true crime at that point about 6 weeks. So I was learning.
Yeah, you were. And that's what I mean. Like we were all learning, like, you know, it was difficult. Like, and this was this was a case that's honestly never happened like the way it has before. This is one for the books. You know, I feel like it's going to be taught in, you know, classes like we already know with Catherine Ramslam. Right?
Oh, geez. Nina just left right when we're going to get into her part.
Oh, can I just read this one thing about
yes, go ahead.
Papa Roger? Jersey John says, Brett Payne testified that they got Bryan's AT&T records on 12/22. Papa's last post was 12/22. Papa is law enforcement, and then he eats an apple. Jersey John, no, he's not. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, they got Bryan Kohberger's name December 19th. And I would assume that if it was law enforcement, because I thought about that as well. I thought maybe perhaps it was law enforcement. But they continued until December 30th. Wasn't the last comment?
I was going to say it stopped.
So that was his last post, Jersey John, but he also had comments.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is we don't, because of, you know, how everything just kind of got really intense during then, we don't know for a fact, like comments, like I said, that kind of got dumped into the, you know, because they were so vile bin too, right? So there could have been comments that we don't even remember because they were in that part that weren't even allowed in the group because they were so bad, right? So he could have said even worse things during that between 12/22 and 12/29 that we didn't even know about.
Yeah. Nina, can you hear us? I think you're on mute.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear
us? I'm listening to the live like 20 minutes behind.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about Papa Rogers. We've been talking about him for a second. One of the things that we found out in this new docuseries is that Elliot Rogers was somebody that was studied in class. Another classmate of Bryan Kohberger said that Bryan Kohberger seemed to be specifically interested in Elliot Rodger. And, you know, Elliot Rodger being a hero in the incel community. You had found something interesting on Reddit. Can you share with us what that was?
Oh, I didn't find it on Reddit.
Oh, okay. Well, where'd you find it and what was it?
I actually did a deep dive into some email addresses that I guess hadn't been publicized, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was in the rabbit holes, I started like going into the places and everything. And I didn't know that 4Pleb was the archive of 4chan. And y'all know that disgusting 4Pleb, that Idaho sliced roast beef, that's just absolutely disgusting. And so I'm looking down through there and everything, and I start seeing these comments that look just like Inside Looking and just like Papa Roger. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck? So I start looking at those and everything and still doing my research. And so as I'm going down through there, I find a picture, and it's where they're telling this person that he's been banned since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? So I searched the IP address, and the IP address comes back to Effort, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And I'm gonna share some of these pictures that you sent me. Is that okay?
Oh yeah. That's the reason I send them.
Wow.
Okay.
So for anybody that doesn't know, Efford, Pennsylvania is up by Scranton.
That's where he
what
lived
was
in 2010.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So in 2010, you're saying that, you know what, let me.
Oh yeah, that's
But
where he lived in.
what I thought was interesting was, because it's the ban is a permanent ban, and it's traced by IP address. And so when that person started commenting before Kohberger got arrested, their system picked up the IP address or whatever, and that's when the ban came up, that they were permanently banned.
Interesting.
And
And
what
it's,
was
I have
this?
a question.
it's
What was
land,
it that
it's
they were?
lands that,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
So just bear with me while I pull all this up. So you were
Yeah,
looking at
I do believe in a little bit of receipts.
right, and you were basically from what you were telling me, or just so I understand that I got it right. You were going down the rabbit hole on this older version of 4chan, and you found a banned member from 2010. Is that correct?
Yes, and the IP address is Effort, Pennsylvania.
And what were they banned for? I mean, how did you know that they were
Now
banned?
that one in 2010 was banned for spamming.
And it tells you this? It tells you why they're banned?
Oh yeah. I sent you a screenshot of the ban.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it all
And
up.
see, the
Right.
problem, is with 4chan and 4Play, everything's anonymous,
Right.
because it also says in there that he was posting anonymous. And what's really funny is like Amanda's Instagram and YouTube was realistic something or another. So I type it in to Google it, and the only search that comes up, the only thing is 4Play when you research that. And the comment that it goes to is all capital letters, and it says he's innocent until proven guilty.
No, wrong one. Give me a sec.
I can get in some rabbit holes.
So hold on, let me stop that. Let me share it again so I can pull up the right thing.
While you share that,
All right.
someone just sent me 118 of The Handmaid's Tale. You guys should look it up after. It's a little.
So this is the 4chan. You are banned. You've been permanently banned from all boards. Your ban was filed. And how did you see this? Like I don't
Okay, I'm
understand
going.
how this
Okay,
is seen.
one thing that I do when I'm in the rabbit holes like that is I read every comment. I mean, I might be on a forum for 10 days reading every comment. And
Okay.
so when I started noticing the comments like Papa Roger and Inside Looking would make, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, it's because I had heard that he had been a part of 4chan.
Yeah.
And now this one, it comes up Pennsylvania because, right here is Effort, because there was one that it only got as close as Philadelphia. And I was like, no, we're going closer to that. And so as I started, going deeper, it's for Comcast cable, I think. It tells that it is for a house. And now this one is a whole different, that's for another IP address that I'm currently in the rabbit hole of.
Okay.
And that one's in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I know that's where Brandywine is.
Okay. And so,
which is the eating disorder place you went to?
Really?
Yeah, the hospital that he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Reading, Pennsylvania.
And what are these?
Okay, as I'm doing my research and everything, okay, how I found this was in 2009, there was a breach, okay? And that's some of his email addresses, they got, I guess, put out there or whatever in a breach. And it's all it says is that it's a 2009 pay company that had a breach, and all the emails So this is a list of all of his emails that got breached.
And were you able to like cross-reference this with the 4chan
Yeah, and
stuff?
so that's when I started cross-referencing and everything, and that's where Wi-Fi Army came up, about the Wi-Fi Army game and the app that he would put to track people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
so for those that don't know, this I have come under some information that at one point Bryan Kohberger had an app. It was like an army game app that he had somehow got on some people's phones, and it would give them their location.
Right.
And I believe it has to do with this email address.
Yeah, it's the Wi-Fi Army.
Okay.
And see, the Instagram that he followed the 3 girls on, that email, I've got that email address, and because it got shut down quick, know.
And so are you, I know you and I have talked before, but it sounded like you said that there was some sort of connection between the Wi-Fi Army Yahoo website email, which belongs to Bryan Kohberger, and an incel.
No, the one that's with the incel that he got banned on, that is bckohberger@gmail.com.
That's what he got.
Yeah, and then the one that was his Instagram was creme.kohberger@gmail.com.
Okay, so but you found a 4chan or an older version of 4chan.
The 4play that I'm talking about, it is a total incel. I mean, it is the raunchiest that you can do to women that can be done. It's the raunchy.
And this would have been while he was 14?
I'd say 14 to 16 because it's 2010, 2011. It's during his Tappa Talk days.
Interesting. Dr. Vona, do you think that, I mean, obviously a minor of that age would be very impressionable, but does it sound about accurate? Do you see a bunch of incels at that age? Does that sound normal? 14?
So, well, at 14, you were into, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would think your hormones would be raging at 14, if anything. Yeah, you would be in puberty.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and isn't that, 14 is like when you're in high school, right? You start high school. So,
right.
Isn't it high school where he was
That's like, 9th or 10th grade.
So, he could have already been getting bullied by females that he was attracted to. So, he starts to feel puberty. Well, not feel puberty, you know what I mean? But, like,
and maybe
tries to talk.
Speaking about the bullying from the females, I also found a lot of statements from girls that were talking about bullied from the females. No, it's setting boundaries and him not respecting them. And I thought, ooh, I mean, because I could see that. I mean, I could see them saying that he was bullied because the girls are being mean to him, but maybe he didn't respect their boundaries.
That's possible. And the I don't know. It's like it's the last.
And I mean, look, y'all, for a year I've said he's not an incel. He's not an incel. He's not an incel. Because an incel to me is like Elliot Rodger and stuff like that. But then I sit there and I thought about it. I'm a firm believer that he's a total virgin. So, I mean, and then he obviously doesn't respect boundaries. He doesn't know how to be around women. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that not an incel? I mean,
I don't think he's
so. When I look at the incel, I didn't think he was an incel either. I still am not putting him with Elliot Rodger as far as that.
Right.
But when I do think that because he studied him, just like he borrowed other things of other, serial killers and stuff, that could have been like what he borrowed from Elliot. Not for nothing, but that Papa Rogers looks just like him, right? So I think if anything, it would be like I'm better than Elliot Rodger, even. I'm better than, Ted Bundy. But as far as the women, there is a cartoon, Daniel, I'll send it to you after. But if you look up like incel, like Becky, and like there's a whole thing. There's like you're either a Becky or a Stacy, and a Chad is the guy. So Chad would have been like an Ethan, someone who gets all the women that Bryan wants. Apparently Chad's, and again, this isn't you guys, this isn't anything medical. This is like what on incel forums. Apparently Chads make up 20% of the population, but they have sex with 80% of the women. So that's why there's such a problem, because that doesn't leave room for people like, Elliot Rodger to get these women. And the women are one thing or the other. They're either like a Barbie doll, so that's a Stacy, or they're a Becky, which I'm assuming is me. It's just like an average person that goes to college and is wearing
Barbie
a backpack
and Skipper.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
If Papa Roger is Bryan Kohberger, I mean, that says a lot. I mean, it wasn't Papa Theodore or Papa Bundy. It's
True.
Papa Roger.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right about that. I agree with that.
And so if it,
and I mean, y'all got to consider,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's his perception, right? So it's not even reality. I don't think that he perceives himself as an incel. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's not an incel. And Daniel, we did say that he was a voluntary celibate, which I think we were saying that we see how he might hate women. But think about it. If we went for every serial killer that hated women, they would all be incels, and that doesn't make sense. So I think that we need more than at least I do, before I could say, oh yeah, he's an incel. However, it is pretty interesting as far as like how he, with The Handmaid's Tale, and how, he believed that women were like made for a certain purpose, stuff like that. And like, not for like being on YouTube talking to you, more like I should be cooking and cleaning right now and getting my kids together.
Yeah, that's what
the birthing hips. I did not know that birthing hips was a reference in the manosphere. And because they look at women only for procreation.
I thought it was from the movie Dark
Well, see,
Shadows,
that's what, it came from a movie. But then when I went down this incel rabbit hole, I found birthing hips, and I'm like, what? I thought that was from a movie, because I'm the one that told you that. I found it, from a movie. And so then when it said that birthing hips is a big thing in the manosphere, which everybody knows what the manosphere is,
I don't know what that's the first time I've ever heard that term.
Okay, the manosphere is where the incels are. It's called a manosphere.
Okay.
Interesting.
So like the metaverse, but for incels.
Oh my gosh, that's hard.
Yeah, it's called a manosphere.
All right.
And I mean, what it is, y'all, it is deep. Let me tell you. I mean, you can go. The research is really bad. I mean, and so then when you get into the birthing hip,
MANOSP.
You're already
manosphere, just like it sounds.
Okay.
That's where they talk about the red pill and the black pill, and I mean, it's they have their own language. I mean, you can't just like go in there and infiltrate the manosphere, because unless you spend all the time learning their language.
Have you learned their language yet, Nina?
I've learned from that pleb, and I don't like it.
Oh, no way. Wow.
Some of the things that they do to the victims' pictures.
Well, they did talk about in the docu-series about how there was a Bryan Nation and a bunch of other incels that were coming forward saying that they hope that he was an incel, that it's confirmed he's an incel, so that the normies is what they call.
Yep.
Us. It kind of sounds like when people say guilters, the normies.
Wow.
And see, the thing about it is he's getting a +1 for killing a guy.
It's like the teardrop.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But here's a question that I have. Does anybody know where Kohberger was in 2021?
I thought he was in North.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is
at the sales.
Yeah.
Well, Vicky Ward, talks about running up on the dad, and she asked the dad, does he know that Jeremy's dead? And he says, no, he's out of town. I haven't been able to tell him. And I'm like, where's he at? What town is he in then?
Oh, you're right.
Wasn't he in rehab?
He was at rehab.
He was at rehab.
In 2021, he got clean in 2016.
But he went back to rehab a couple times, I thought, or maybe
2016 was his last.
Well, I mean, if he was in 2021, that would have been like because
During the
he got
sales.
his master's degree, right? That
Right.
doesn't take a year. That takes some time.
Yeah.
So I would have assumed that he would have been there for at least 2, maybe 3 years at the sales, 2020 through 2022. I think that sounds about accurate.
At least.
But he was traveling back and forth.
Yeah, because he put
commuting.
how many miles on his car?
I'm not sure, but there was a lot of people that went to school with him that talked about that he would commute, and that he was very much by himself, mainly because of that. He wouldn't go to parties or anything. He'd drive home immediately afterwards. And so I wonder if that's what he meant, is that he was out because of that aspect, because he was attending college, even though he was coming back home.
Yeah, because it's about 70 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's crazy. And so, but so it seems like other incels are latching on to Bryan Kohberger.
Yes.
And he's seen like, I think they're looking at him kind of like they look at Elliot Rogers and Roger. And that's, pretty scary, how much of a following that this guy has. And the fact that people still even think he's innocent after he's admitted to it. He's pled basically guilty to it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
But I mean, what are the chances?
So
Go ahead.
Sorry. The incel community, right? So if they think of Elliot Rogers as like a godlike figure, what would they think of Papa Rogers? So it's almost like the incel community gives him cred already.
Right.
Just by
exactly what he's been looking for.
Doesn't even have to say that exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was some pretty, there was this one, like, they had like these shrines to him. Like these people that are in favor of him.
Baby Bri.
Yeah, and in the middle of it are K-bar knives and knife sheaths.
Yeah.
They know he committed the crime, and yet they still support him.
Oh, yeah.
That is insane.
Because, see, to the incels, he's taking out what they hate.
Yeah.
So would 4chan be a website that he'd be able to access with the iPad program that they give the prisoners access
I don't
to?
think so. I hope not.
God, I hope not.
I hope not either. Like,
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm sure they've all figured out ways to bypass, here. I mean, I've heard people being contacted on Facebook by prisoners. I mean, I know that happens. So there's ways. So
yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, I think on the pictures that I sent Kohberger, the BC Kohberger, that's the one that's attached to Tapatalk.
Okay.
And then the Kohberger is the Instagram that and I mean, it says that law enforcement stated that he followed the girls on Instagram before the Instagram got shut down.
I don't remember law enforcement saying that, but I do know that the Shadow Dragon program picked that up, that he was following the girls on Instagram. And I know that the family had searched him before it was announced to the world that Bryan Kohberger was going to be arrested or was arrested, and that they saw that he was following a couple of the profiles as well. Now the question comes is, when did he start following them? Because I mean, if he started following them after the murders, there's a lot of people that did the same. You know what I'm saying? So
what gets me is he opened his Instagram with one of those old email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
That's what got me. Oh, and he also had a Tumblr.
He had a Tumblr?
Yep. I found it. And then
what about like
I know
Tinder or anything like that? Did he have any dating profiles?
I haven't found any kind of Snapchat or Tinder. We know he had Yik Yak.
Mm-hmm. I remember hearing about that one.
And then let's see, his Tumblr, and then the Nord, and the 3 videos he made with that guy Valak. I found those. So I mean, there is so much that I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, you can ask Daniel. I was like, Daniel, I don't know. I mean, because I'm always so afraid that, do I have enough information to come out with it, And I mean, one thing I do know is Daniel wouldn't have me up here if he didn't believe me. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's a good possibility if he was interested in Elliot Rodger, it didn't bother him. He was, more intrigued by the information. If he came out with the name Papa Roger, that was really him. I mean, this kind of all does scream that there might be some sort of incel characteristics. I mean, there's also the guy that went on a reluctant hours long drive and conversation. Remember that guy? I think it was in a
Yes.
documentary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I
The
was
student or
reluctant.
something.
I
Yeah,
didn't
he
I
wanted
didn't
to
want to
write.
go, but I went
Yes.
on there and it turned into
Yeah.
hours. And in that conversation, he was talking about how females don't belong in the classroom, that they belong in
Yes.
the
Yes.
so there's some statements there. There are some things there that make you think that there's a good possibility that this guy had some sort of those characteristics. I mean, I think that
In
he may
my
have.
opinion, when he got kicked out of the little thing in high school and they won't tell what it was, everything that I've been in the last week, I'm going to say it goes back to that Wi-Fi army. And I mean, that he was already stalking two of the students in high school.
Yeah, I think it's definitely along those lines, from what I have heard. I've also heard that it had to do with the army game and following some people, and
Right.
I think he also, because there was some issues that happened at Northampton as well. But it's been so
Yeah.
long that I've gone through what those things were. I have to go back and look up the information to be 100% accurate. But there were some things that happened in high
Daniel,
school.
I have a question for you real quick.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done your sentence. I apologize.
Yeah. No, go
If
ahead.
you just said about him, sorry, if you just said about him not thinking women should be in the classroom, of course that went up my ass sideways. But wouldn't that make it interesting, his relationship with Dr. Ramsland? Because
Yeah.
right, because that would like, go against him really respecting her, which I always thought that he would want to be better than her, of course. But I wonder what that must be like. Like, what do you think as far as, because you were just saying that, and I'm like, what about Dr. Ramsland? But you're right. I agree with that, though.
I think when it comes to Dr. Ramsland, I think that's an interesting one, right? Because it's somebody that it sounds like he looked up to. It's somebody that he maybe sought out, but it may have been a part of the manipulation. Maybe he sought her out because she was somebody that was well renowned, somebody that was at the highest level, and a female, and maybe perhaps he wanted to get close just so that maybe he could stump her later. Kind of similar to what Howard Bloom was saying.
I think it goes with the mommy issue too.
Yes, I agree with the mommy issue.
A total mommy issue.
I think he just needed her as that, like, the tether to get himself the notoriety.
I don't know. I see
Dr.
Ramsland more as, like Daniel was saying, as like a means to his end. Like, a lot of people are asking, like, did these classes, even Dr. Ramsland said she wonders if her classes had any influence. My thing is this. He's, in my opinion, he's got antisocial or sociopath. He was always a sociopath. So he went to school as a sociopath. He didn't become a sociopath.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it just.
So I think you're right, Daniel. I think that would be. Yeah. So Daniel, I think to your point, he probably sought her out for his own motives or reasons.
I can go with that because I think he's had it. I think he's had all this planned since 2012.
Yeah. And he
but
took
I also
with
found
her.
I found the paper that he looked up on Ted Bundy that they were talking about on Dateline.
Yeah.
And it is written by a professor at WSU.
I've seen
I did a whole live with it, you guys. I did a whole live with Dr. Schultz. We broke the whole thing down and explained the whole thing. Wow.
We got to check that out. Yeah, that was a female that also, I think English wasn't her first language, and he would mock her.
Made fun of.
Right. He would mock her and things of that nature. And apparently,
But did you look at her specialties?
No, I didn't.
Her specialties are like SA from intruder SA.
Wow.
Burglary SA, stuff like that. Breaking into the house and SAing.
Oh, geez.
That's her specialties.
That's insane. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Real quick, thank you, Natalie James, for $9.99. Appreciate your integrity, Daniel. Also took a pause in my previous strong opposition to the destruction of 1122 King. Hearing these kids' pain from it standing gave me a new lens. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man, the way when Maddie's mom just explaining them getting to the police station and being told what they were told and everything else. And that was heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking, the series. It's very sad, but I think it's done really well in a sense where it's about the victims more so than it is about Bryan Kohberger. And
I think it was so needed.
Yeah, I do too. It gives maybe if the pro-burgers watch it and they can see what kind of pain they cause people too, because that's what they do, with their crap. I recently talked to Christy, and she was upset because a pro-burger was attacking Steve again, and it's just unfortunate. You know what I'm saying?
But you better not ask a question about the Kohbergers. Sorry, I come with a warning label.
Yeah, thank you, Sub Rosa, as well. Kind of put a bow on this. I'm still about the 95% possibility that Bryan Kohberger is Papa Roger. If he wasn't an incel, if he was not, then I find it less likely that it was him. If he was an incel, I think it's more likely that Bryan Kohberger was Papa Roger. But I think that's kind of where it falls into. Like, is Bryan Kohberger an incel? And do you think, and I'll ask you this, Dr. Vona, do you think he would ever, if he did do a tell-all type of interview, do you think he would ever admit to that?
No, I don't. I think he would admit to women are should be, in the pretty much to be moms and wives and stuff. So he might give away some of that stuff, but I don't think he's going to be like, I'm an incel. No, I don't at all. I think if anything, that would hurt his ego, right? He wants to be Ted Bundy. In my opinion, that's who he looks up to, not Elliot Rodgers. If anything, like I was saying, it's like he sunned Elliot Rodgers. Like he said in his lyrics that he was sick of being sunned by other people. It was like by saying he's Papa Rogers, he's like pulling, like it's like Elliot would look up to him as a dad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? And he's like, I'm going to be the one doing this.
So I think it's more about that identity or lack thereof. Yes.
I think a lot of it comes to, and this is just my opinion from the research I've done on him, is I honestly believe that there was too much estrogen in the house and not enough testosterone. I think that dad may have been weak. And that
I don't know about that. I got 3 daughters.
I got 3 daughters with all us.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is he could have had that overbearing mother.
Yeah. I had an overbearing mother too.
That's different than having too many. Yeah, that's different than having too many girls in the house, right?
Yeah.
But Nina, I agree. It probably definitely played a role. If she was an overbearing mom, I'd bet her.
I got 3 daughters, no sons, but I do have nothing but brothers. My mom cursed me. She told me when I was growing up, she's like, I didn't get no daughters. You are going to give me nothing but granddaughters.
Oh,
and so far that is true. That is true. Including
you said so far. Is there more on the way?
No.
No.
He did like cosplay.
No, there was a little conversation there, maybe, possibly, but I'm too old. I'm old.
No, you are not. Don't say that. No, you're not. No, you're not too old.
I mean, I'd be pushing great grandparent age by the time this kid would graduate high school if I ever had another one. So
Stop.
Don't let the hair fool you guys. It's not real. It's dyed in. Well, guys, I put everybody's links in the description. I have warning label Nina's. I got yours, Miss Dr. Vona, and I have Elena. I have your links as well, including the link to the Idaho page. I want to thank every one of you guys for staying on and being on with us tonight. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button, guys. We have 2,300 people in here.
One thing before we hang
Go ahead.
That's awesome. out of you 2,300 people, I only need 25 people to get to 2,000. Can you guys hook me up? I didn't stream this on my account, so could we get 25 of you to go to my page and subscribe? That would be amazing.
Let's do it, guys. I need like 900 and something to hit 50,000 subscribers, guys. If half of you that are watching now just go out there and hit the subscribe button, I'd hit 50K. I'd appreciate that. I still plan on having some information that's going to be dropped here pretty soon. I'm going to break down tomorrow. I'm going to be back on the live tomorrow. I'm going to break down the Amazon Prime show. I have a bunch of notes. We're going to talk about it, talk about my appearance that, that I was a little surprised about, but we'll talk about my appearance and so much more, guys. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Thank you guys for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, guys. Y'all have a safe night. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you next time.
Guys.
Bye.